In this video, I'd like to determine maximum and minimum values for some trig functions. So to start, let's just go ahead and determine maximum and minimum values for the cosine of x. Okay. And if we think about the graph of this function, one cycle is going to look something like that, and this is just going to repeat over and over in both directions. But the maximum values for the function are going to fall on the line y equal to 1, and the minimum values are going to fall on the line y equal to -1. So the max value is 1, minimum value is -1. So how does this change if we alter the amplitude to something like 4 times the cosine of x? Well, all this is going to do is going to stretch our graph vertically. Okay. So this line here is no longer y equal to 1, it's y equal to 4. And our minimum line is now y equal to -4. Okay. Well, how does this picture change if I subtract 2 on the outside? Well, remember, this is going to take this graph and it's going to shift it down 2 units. So now the graph looks something more like the following. We're going to have a midline at y equal to -2. So this is the horizontal line that's going to run through the middle of the graph. The amplitude is 4, so the maximums are going to fall on the line y equal to 2, and the minimums are going to fall on the line y equal to -6. Right? The graph is going to look something like that. So the maximum is 2, minimum -6. How does this change if I play with the argument and change this to something like x minus pi over 4? Well, when we change the argument, we're only going to change horizontal features of the graph. We're not going to change the vertical features at all. So this graph is just going to shift toward the right pi over 4 units. So the maximum and the minimum values are going to be unaffected. They're still going to be 2 and -6. Okay? So, using this knowledge, what are the maximum and minimum values of, let's say, 5 cosine of x plus pi over 6 minus 3? Well, what's the midline? The midline is going to be y equal to -3. So the max line, my amplitude is 5, it's just going to be 5 units up from that at y equal to 2. The minimum line is going to be 5 units down from -3, y equal to -8. So there's the max value, -8 is going to be the minimum value. Okay. So let's try one more example. Let's say 7 plus 3 cosine x plus 4 sine of x. Okay. So here we no longer have a single trig function involved, but from our knowledge of the harmonic form, we know that this expression here can be written as r times the cosine of x minus some angle alpha. Right? So this function here can be written as 7 plus some amplitude times a cosine function. To determine maxes and mins, we just saw that all we need to know is the midline and the amplitude. Okay? So recall how we determine the amplitude in the harmonic form. That's going to be the square root of the coefficient on x squared, plus, I'm sorry, the coefficient on cosine squared plus the coefficient on sine squared. And here we're going to have an amplitude of 5. Right? So whatever this harmonic form is, we don't really need to know. We just need to know the amplitude to find maxes and mins. The midline is going to be y equal to 7. The max line is going to be 5 units up from that. So it's going to be y equal to 12. The minimum line is going to be 5 units down from my midline. Y equal to 2. So the maximum value is 12. The minimum value is 2.